We have collected a truly remarkable stack of information for you today.
We really have.
It spans the entire globe. I mean, from active conflict zones
Mm-hmm.
and really high-stakes geopolitics,
Mm-hmm.
all the way to the pressure cooker of modern retail and, these deep-seated cultural traditions.
It's a lot to take in.
It is. So if you're trying to synthesize how the world is operating right now,
Yeah.
where this real sense of hope can coexist with just profound tension,
Yeah.
you are definitely looking at a world in contradiction this week.
That's the perfect way to put it. A world in contradiction.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Our mission here is to navigate these contrasting narratives. We want to pull out the essential insights you need to be, truly well-informed.
And not just the headlines.
Not at all.
Mm.
We want to show you the deep currents beneath the headlines to really understand how these monumental celebrations can happen at the same time as persistent military conflict.
And how global power plays affect individual lives everywhere.
Exactly. Whether you're in a refugee camp or, I don't know, a local stationery store just trying to survive.
That's exactly right. I mean, when we survey the landscape of current affairs, the light and the dark, they're not separate events. They are fundamentally deeply intertwined. So we'll be focusing on understanding the ripple effects, the implications of these developments. How a decision that's rooted in a 200-year-old American doctrine, for example,
Right.
how that actually impacts a community in Denmark.
And how a fragile truce can influence a historic religious celebration thousands of miles away in the Middle East. It's an incredibly complex picture.
It is, but finding those connections is what really matters. So what stands out to you in this initial overview?
Well, I think we have to start with that profound contrast you mentioned.
Yeah.
Celebration trying to emerge directly from the shadow of conflict.
Let's do it. We're going to begin with a historic town that has just recently experienced 2 years of profound hardship, but is now really attempting to embrace the light.
So after 2 years of significantly reduced festivities and following a really painful, destabilizing conflict, Bethlehem, the traditional birthplace of Jesus, saw a truly notable revival of Christmas celebrations this year.
It's more than just a return to tradition, isn't it?
It feels like it. It feels like a massive shift in the collective mood.
It is a profound shift. And you have to imagine the psychological relief for the residents must just be immense.
Of course.
We know that thousands gathered in the main square, right there in front of the Church of the Nativity.
And it was all lit up.
Brilliantly lit. It's like a physical manifestation of that optimism. This whole revival was, I think, crystallized by the message from Cardinal Pizzaballa.
Who is the Latin Patriarch, right? The highest Catholic representative there.
That's him, yes. He called for a Christmas full of light after 2 years of darkness. I mean, that statement just perfectly encapsulates the deep yearning for normalcy, for peace, after such a prolonged period of shared hardship.
And the contrast to the immediate aftermath of the previous conflict is just. It's absolutely stark.
Oh, night and day.
Our background material described the atmosphere back then almost as a dance of death
Yeah.
in Bethlehem. Wow. There were barely any people on the streets. Not only was there no Christmas tree, but the central nativity scene.
I remember this.
It was reinterpreted to depict Jesus in the rubble of Gaza.
Such a powerful statement of solidarity. The Christian Palestinians, who are, of course, part with a broader Palestinian community, they just weren't in the mood to celebrate. They were entirely focused on the suffering.
Of course. And that's what's so different this year.
The core difference this year is that the shift to a celebratory atmosphere is significantly buoyed by the existing ceasefire. There's a tangible sense of relief that people are allowing themselves to express.
You can see it. The streets were filled. The square was vibrant.
Brightly lit, colorful, the town was, for the first time in years, really permitting itself to fully engage with the festivities.
We should note, though, that while the atmosphere was festive, the ongoing security and political reality still had an impact.
On a macro level, yeah.
Tourist numbers were lower than expected. Only a limited number of Christian pilgrims made the journey from abroad.
Which means the celebrations became intensely local.
Exactly. Attended primarily by residents of Bethlehem and visitors from surrounding West Bank communities. And maybe that made the joy even more meaningful for the local population.
I think so, and it's crucial to recognize the composition of that joy.
What do you mean?
Well, this celebration, it transcended religious lines. It was a deeply local event that attracted both Palestinian Christians and Palestinian Muslims who came together.
United in their collective relief.
United in their relief and their shared identity, we saw the traditional parade by the local scout troops, all the bagpipes and drums, moving loudly and cheerfully through the streets of the old city.
That interfaith unity, gathering around a moment of respite, it's such a powerful counter-narrative to the conflict that continues to define the region.
It really is.
But beyond the spiritual and social gathering, the local leadership, they didn't miss the chance. They seized the international spotlight to articulate some pretty pressing political demands.
The mayor of Bethlehem.
Yes, he delivered a very clear, very uncompromising statement. He essentially said, you must treat Palestinians as human beings equally.
Right.
And you must recognize Palestine as a state, emphasizing that without the realization of statehood, a two-state solution is, in his words, utterly impossible.
And this is where politics and tradition become just completely inseparable.
Yeah.
The source material also pointed to a deeper ongoing crisis for the local Christian community.
The Christian exodus.
Exactly. Christian Palestinians often feel abandoned, unprotected, which has led so many to leave the region entirely over the past decades. It's a demographic tragedy that really impacts the character of the city.
The numbers are shocking. Previously, nearly half of Bethlehem's inhabitants were Christian.
And that number has just shrunk considerably. So for those who remain, the desire expressed during the holiday isn't just for a festive season, it's for genuine, lasting peace that allows them to thrive.
And finally, a clear sign of the perceived international significance of this fragile peace was the diplomatic presence.
A lot of diplomats showed up.
They did. The climactic midnight mass, led by the Latin Patriarch, saw the attendance of many diplomats from various nations. This turnout, it marks a significant high point, signaling that the world was watching and, acknowledging this precarious moment of calm.
Indeed. And it forces us to ask, is this diplomatic presence a sign of commitment to peace? Or is it just observation of a pause in conflict?
That's the question.
Shifting now from Bethlehem's tentative hope, we look toward Eastern Europe, where the shadow of war is much, much longer. Ukraine experienced its fourth Christmas under conflict.
And this year, there's a symbolic yet really profound change.
A huge one. The official celebration aligns with the Western calendar, not the Russian Orthodox date of January 7th. It's an intentional move to distance their national culture from the Russian sphere, even as the military fight rages on.
So the date of celebration might be new, reflecting this deliberate cultural decoupling.
Right.
But the daily reality for Ukrainians is just brutally familiar.
The same old story, unfortunately. Russian attacks on energy infrastructure persist relentlessly,
leaving vast numbers of people in dark and cold apartments.
And this is happening even as these complex, high-stakes peace talks are continuing in the background. The war is a constant, grinding reality that never truly gets paused.
We saw harrowing evidence of this immediately before Christmas Eve.
Yeah, the bombing in Zaporizhia.
3 bombs struck the city in the southeast overnight. It injured at least 4 people, shattered dozens of windows in residential areas.
And even more dramatically, the port city of Odessa was left in complete darkness.
A total blackout.
Yeah, total blackout. Plunged into it due to heavy drone and missile attacks, specifically targeting the country's energy grid. Imagine the psychological toll, the physical toll, of trying to observe a holiday when the fundamental necessities of warmth and light are deliberately used as weapons of war.
It's unimaginable. Yet amidst this destruction, we see President Zelensky consistently pushing for diplomatic solutions, even while preparing for continued defense.
He's walking a very fine line.
He is. And he recently revealed specific details of peace proposals that have been developed in cooperation with the United States. And this is where the language gets really, really telling.
The security guarantees.
Key to this proposal is an agreement on security guarantees, which are specifically designed to resemble the core of NATO.
The Mutual Assistance Clause.
Exactly.
That's what's so fascinating here. If you strip away the word peace, what you have at the foundation of this diplomatic proposal is essentially a military defense agreement.
Right.
For those who might not know, the NATO Mutual Assistance Clause, it's often called Article 5, states that an attack against one member is an attack against all.
So to build a peace proposal that relies on that structure, It just demonstrates how profoundly military security concerns are dominating the whole negotiation.
Absolutely. The goal isn't just a ceasefire, it's a permanent security architecture that basically replaces their need to join NATO.
And it underscores a really deep mistrust.
Com-
Zelensky stressed that these documents have to be fully realized and that Russia must not be allowed to sabotage the diplomacy. He insists Russia must take the war's end 100% seriously.
So the diplomatic path isn't one of trust and handshakes?
Not at all. It's defined by verifiable security agreements and just extreme suspicion.
This complex reality created a sort of moral clash on the international stage. We heard appeals from the Vatican.
Pope Leo X in Italy.
Yes, he made a direct, very heartfelt appeal to Russia, expressing deep sadness over the apparent rejection of even a temporary Christmas ceasefire.
He just asked for one day of peace.
One day. He called on people of goodwill to observe at least one day of peace, at least on the festival of the birth of the Savior. It was a plea for just a moment of grace.
But those appeals, they just seem to bounce off the harsh reality on the ground.
They do.
Despite them, the mood in Kyiv remains deeply sober. The recurring power outages, they disrupt everything, they destroy any attempt at a festive mood.
It makes a genuinely celebratory atmosphere almost impossible to sustain.
It does. For some, the holiday is a necessary, welcome break from the grinding routine of war, but the emotional cost is undeniable. The sources noted that for many others, the day means tears and broken hearts.
And the primary overriding wish for everyone remains so simple.
Genuine, lasting peace.
Not just a fragile military pause.
Exactly.
Yet we also see this incredible resilience of the human spirit. The president of Germany, in his Christmas address, deliberately focused not just on the conflict, but on the need for confidence and courage among his own citizens and the world.
That's an interesting angle.
He stressed that the festival stands for the enduring message that a light shines in the darkness, and that confidence provides the strength to work for the world and for fellow human beings. And that concept, it applies both to high-level diplomatic efforts and to the thousands of small local initiatives across the country that are keeping hope and the electricity alive.
So we have this intense juxtaposition. Peace diplomacy built on military guarantees sitting right alongside a profound ancient appeal for light and confidence in the face of literal darkness.
It really is.
It forces us to consider the long-term question. How do we successfully transition a society from a peace defined by military security agreements to one characterized by genuine human peace?
And that focus on hard power and security brings us directly to a high-stakes geopolitical claim happening far, far north.
That is a perfect bridge. Speaking of hard power and security, here is a story where some old doctrines are getting dusted off and given a 21st century update.
You're talking about Greenland.
Exactly. U.S. President Donald Trump reignited his highly controversial claim that Greenland, the world's largest island, should rightfully belong to the United States.
And the justification is purely rooted in strategic military and security grounds.
I think we need to zoom in on the specific rationale here. Trump argues the U.S. needs Greenland for national security because of its location.
It's situated right between the U.S. and Russia.
Right. And to underscore the supposed urgency, he claimed that Russian and Chinese ships are constantly visible off its coast.
Which implies that U.S. control is essential for a hemispheric defense.
But is that visibility claim just rhetoric? Or does the source material suggest there is genuine, increasing military traffic there?
The focus seems to be less on verifiable traffic and more on the potential threat. Greenland's location just dominates the maritime routes of the North Atlantic and the Arctic.
If you look at a globe...
Yeah, if you look at a globe, its proximity to major U.S. military bases in the region and the potential for new high-tech surveillance, it makes it a critical piece of the defense puzzle in an increasingly contested Arctic.
So for the Trump administration, possession is the ultimate security guarantee.
It seems so.
And it's not just a military asset, is it? It's a massive economic prize.
A huge one. The island is incredibly rich in natural resources, including rare earth minerals that are crucial for modern electronics and green technologies.
Which makes it enormously attractive.
Enormously, especially since right now, China is one of the nations benefiting most from the access and exploration rights that exist under Denmark's control.
And this is where history becomes a weapon.
The Monroe Doctrine.
Trump and his newly appointed special envoy for Greenland, Jeff Landry, they're referencing the 200-year-old Monroe Doctrine.
And for listeners who might be unfamiliar, the Monroe Doctrine, it dates back to 1823. It essentially declared that European powers should stop meddling in the Americas.
But it's been used differently.
It has historically been used by the U.S. to assert control over everything in its immediate neighborhood, often justified by preemptive security concerns. For this administration, invoking it is applying an aggressive, established American strategy to the 21st century.
You can just imagine the fury in Scandinavia.
Oh, absolutely. Greenland is largely autonomous, but it is fundamentally part of the Kingdom of Denmark.
A key NATO member, an ally of the U.S.
Exactly. And Denmark strongly rejected the claims, viewing Trump's push as the next level of escalation, crossing a major diplomatic line.
They were so incensed that they summoned the U.S. ambassador.
To deliver a formal protest and draw what they called a clear red line.
The irony is rich, isn't it?
It's very rich. Here you have the U.S. potentially using a 200-year-old doctrine designed to push back European influence against a current European NATO ally.
It aligns perfectly with the overarching America First strategy.
It does. A policy that fundamentally prioritizes unilateral national interest over collaborative alliance building. The underlying goal, beyond security and resources, is to gain control over potential new global trade routes.
The Bering Strait.
Precisely. The sources indicate that if the Bering Strait becomes ice-free due to climate change, a northern route would open up.
Which would shorten travel time from China to Europe by 10 days.
10 days. That's a massive logistical and economic advantage that the U.S. clearly wants to command, not share.
The sources confirm this administration has tried to acquire Greenland before, and this year they did not rule out the most extreme measure.
A military intervention.
Which seems highly unlikely against a NATO ally, but
the threat is there.
And we've seen immediate concrete tactics being used. Economic pressure.
The wind farms.
Just recently, 5 lease agreements for major offshore wind farms were suddenly canceled. And crucially, 2 of those were being developed by a Danish state-owned company.
That is absolutely textbook economic pressure being applied to a NATO partner. It shows the claim isn't just bombastic rhetoric, it's being pursued with tangible economic muscle.
Aimed squarely at the Kingdom of Denmark.
It undermines the very idea of partnership. The confrontation is replacing the collaboration that has defined the U.S.-Danish relationship since the Cold War, despite Denmark hosting U.S. military bases.
So is this tactic designed to hurt Danish citizens? Or is it a clear signal to Beijing and Moscow about Arctic resource access?
The answer is probably both, but the immediate pain is felt by the ally.
And we can't ignore the domestic audience in the U.S.
No. This aggressive stance is also directed squarely at Trump's U.S. voter base.
Projecting an image of strength, dominance, commitment to national security at any cost.
It's effective showmanship, regardless of how impractical or controversial the actual acquisition might be on the global stage.
And it's a powerful demonstration of how geopolitical pressure is applied. And the people who suffer the secondary effects are often the most vulnerable.
Which brings us to our next section. If we connect this idea of destabilizing geopolitical pressure to the bigger picture, we see it creating massive, immediate humanitarian shifts, specifically in the deeply tragic case of Afghan refugees in Iran.
Where the economic and security pressures on one country, Iran, are cascading down and forcing massive displacement.
Exactly.
The scale of this displacement, it's staggering. It's really difficult to comprehend.
The numbers are just huge.
UN figures estimate 3.5 million Afghans currently live in Iran. Other estimates suggest that number is closer to twice that.
So maybe 7 million people?
Maybe. And for many years, Iran provided relative protection and refuge. But over the last year, the political pressure for them to return to Afghanistan has ramped up dramatically.
And Tehran cites its own struggling economic situation, which is certainly true for Iran and rising security concerns as the main official reasons for encouraging these returns.
But the resulting humanitarian situation is just critical and deeply disturbing.
In just 1 year, nearly 2 million Afghans have returned to Afghanistan.
Some voluntarily.
But many, many others being forcibly repatriated.
We have concrete numbers that underline the sheer scope of the unwilling returns. At just one border crossing, the Milak crossing, approximately 500,000 people have returned since March. And roughly half of them, about 250,000 human beings, were unwilling to leave Iran.
meaning they were forcibly deported.
Yes.
And what's truly heartbreaking is the life these refugees lead while they're in Iran, living in the shadow of Iranian society, regardless of whether they have documentation or not.
Because the vast majority lack recognized refugee status.
They're deprived of fundamental rights. They're locked out of basic societal structures. Their entire everyday life is severely restricted in ways that are almost impossible for us to imagine.
The restrictions are shocking in their breadth and their effect,
They can't buy a simple SIM card.
which makes communication, job hunting, incredibly difficult. They're physically restricted from leaving the city they live in.
They can't exchange money or even purchase bus tickets for long-distance travel.
And perhaps most tragically, Afghan children cannot attend Iranian schools.
So they're essentially locked out of the very institutions, education, communication, mobility that could help them achieve any semblance of stability or build a future.
You have to think about the implications of those restrictions.
Well, how does a father who needs to work, who has no SIM card, arrange for a safe, reliable taxi ride to a job site?
Or how do they navigate a medical emergency if they can't even buy a bus ticket to a specialized hospital in another city?
The knife in the shadows creates a pervasive atmosphere of fear, even for those who seemingly have the proper documentation.
We learned about one 30-year-old man who holds valid papers.
And he's still terrified.
He shared his extreme anxiety, explaining he only leaves his accommodation to go directly to work by taxi and then returns immediately.
Because he's afraid of being arrested by the police, having his valid documents torn up, which is a common tactic, and then immediately deported.
And the pressure has been exacerbated by Iran's complex internal economic crisis and this rising local resentment.
Experts note that some Iranians worry that Afghans are taking up spots in essential queues for bread, for healthcare, for limited school places.
It's a classic stress point in any strained economy, isn't it? The weakest are blamed for resource scarcity.
It is. And it creates this continuous, tragic cycle of suffering. Those who are forcibly deported often face even greater difficulty under the Taliban regime when they get back to Afghanistan.
Which means many of them immediately start planning to leave again.
Trying to reverse the displacement, re-enter Iran, or move elsewhere, it's a powerful, continuous example of how a lack of economic stability and the rise of nationalist pressures in one country create these massive, immediate, and utterly relentless humanitarian crises.
Shifting focus now, let's bring this global picture back to our own consumer experience. The deep dive shows that for German retailers, the Christmas season, the traditional high point of the year that makes or breaks their profit, was a huge disappointment.
And this is the consumer-facing side of that overall economic uncertainty we've been discussing.
Exactly.
You're absolutely right. The dissatisfaction metrics are just widespread across the entire sector. 2/3 of retailers surveyed expressed deep disappointment with the results.
2/3.
And crucially, when the Retail Association projects a maximum sales increase of just 1.5% compared to last year,
That figure doesn't even offset inflation.
not even close. So they are essentially confirming that the sector lost purchasing power. They're calling it a lost year for the physical retail sector overall.
The core of the problem lies in a severely depressed consumer climate.
People are cautious.
Very. They're facing persistent increased costs of living and this deep uncertainty about the economic future.
Which breeds caution. And as a direct result, you see significantly reduced spending.
An industry survey found the Germans plan to spend an average of 263 on gifts.
Which is down dramatically from nearly €300 the previous year.
That's a massive evaporation of purchasing power. When that kind of money just disappears from discretionary spending, those mid-sized city center businesses feel the pinch immediately and deeply.
And one of the biggest external challenges facing those mid-sized businesses is what the Retail Association is calling a massive competitive distortion.
The China competition.
The competition from Chinese low-cost platforms is absolutely fierce, particularly for goods like toys, clothing, electronics.
All the perennial popular holiday gifts.
Exactly.
The sheer volume involved is truly astonishing.
It's hard to wrap your head around.
It's estimated that 6 billion small parcels arrived directly from China into Europe this year.
6 billion. And this system is often enabled by specific customs and tax structures for low-value goods, which many domestic retailers argue creates a totally unfair advantage.
The Retail Association is not holding back. They're claiming this represents egregious competitive distortions, arguing this isn't fair competition on a level playing field.
And they even allege that this system involves the mass sales of what they describe as illegal products.
What does that mean? Illegal products.
Goods that may not meet the safety, environmental, or intellectual property standards required of domestic European businesses?
So that raises a profound question. Is this simply the market adapting to global e-commerce, or are the regulatory systems just failing to protect domestic businesses?
That's the billion-dollar question. Regardless of the answer, the impact is undeniable, especially on those medium-sized businesses that anchor city centers and just lack the scale to compete with global direct shipping giants.
Amidst all this widespread disappointment, though, there is one fascinating outlier that's proving relatively crisis-proof.
The book trade.
Yes, the book trade. Interestingly, book sales remain stable.
And the reason cited is simple. Book prices have not risen as sharply as other consumer goods in recent years.
So they're a comparatively stable and affordable gift option.
They're seen as an affordable luxury. The industry notes that if consumers can't afford the big, expensive trips or lavish purchases due to economic uncertainty, they seek an internal escape.
A book offers a way to dream oneself into other worlds.
Exactly. It provides a form of escapism and affordable entertainment that remains vital even when household budgets are tightly constrained.
But the retail disappointment, it stands in stark contradiction to the immense absolute high-season stress being experienced by the logistics sector.
Oh, absolutely. The shift to high-volume, low-cost online shopping, which is hurting the physical stores,
Is pushing parcel delivery, the last mile, to an absolute breaking point.
we're talking about volumes that just defy imagination.
What are the numbers?
The country saw a record volume of 13 million packages handled in a single day.
13 million in one day.
These are unprecedented numbers that put immense unsustainable strain on every part of the delivery ecosystem, but most acutely on the individuals doing the physical work.
That strain falls directly and brutally onto the delivery drivers.
It does. We heard the story of drivers like Max Bocha, and the sheer physical toll is immense.
He estimates he moves up to 500 kilograms. That's half a ton of parcels per shift on extreme days.
Half a ton. This work is not only fast-paced, but physically exhausting. He spoke candidly about being drained after a long day.
Needing a full hour just to collect himself and physically recover.
Before he can even think about sleeping and starting the whole process again the next morning. It's a relentless, punishing cycle driven by our demands for immediate gratification.
And beyond the sheer weight and pace, the operational challenges in urban environments are immense.
Parking.
Parking is cited as the #1 problem in dense business districts. This forces drivers to constantly resort to standing in the second row, a risky, often illegal maneuver, just to unload and deliver quickly enough to hit their targets.
Every minute spent searching for parking is a parcel delivery missed, which just compounds the stress.
Necessity, as they say, is the mother of invention, and the drivers develop this incredible, almost surgical local expertise.
They have to. They create a deep knowledge of their territory, including what they call Trick 17,
Which is a common German phrase for a clever local hack, a workaround.
a resourceful solution. This might involve using less obvious routes, like running directly through a public lobby or, as one driver recounted, cutting through a school supply store to access the upper floors of an office building faster.
Or just knowing the designated, quiet drop-off locations when recipients aren't home.
They become absolute masters of urban logistics. But the stress and the economic failure, they aren't contained to just the drivers.
No. We also see the profound hidden strain on the local partners, the local parcel shops that serve as collection points.
And we heard about one such shop, primarily a stationery store in Berlin-Dahlem, that is completely overwhelmed by the logistics demands of being a central hub.
They're acting as unofficial, high-volume logistics centers without the proper infrastructure or compensation.
The physical and economic toll is staggering. They have to manually sort, scan, and label every single incoming and outgoing item, constantly battling a massive backlog.
Which creates severe space constraints. The shop owner recounted having to send back an entire shipment of parcels that had arrived the previous afternoon.
Because she simply had no room left to safely store them.
Imagine. Customers arrive expecting their package, and the small business owner has to send them away empty-handed, dealing with the inevitable frustration.
And this is where the economic model truly reveals its failure. The shop owner noted she has paid only 60 cents per parcel to handle this immense operational and customer service burden.
60 cents.
Given the unbearable stress, the space constraints, the constant flow of angry or disappointed customers, She is seriously considering abandoning the service and returning to being a pure stationery store.
She's questioning whether the business is even worth it.
She is. She's questioning whether it's worth the immense effort and the rock-bottom compensation. And it just illuminates the true human and small business cost of our collective desire for high-volume, low-cost online convenience.
As we conclude this deep dive, let's pivot to a few critical policy points that affect citizens and industry across Europe and juxtapose them against the enduring cultural traditions that help communities persist through tension.
Okay. Starting with policy, let's look at Germany's legislative agenda, the Black-Red Governing Coalition.
For listeners, that's a grand coalition between the center-right, symbolized by black, and the center-left, which is red.
Exactly. They've announced plans for a new mandate. Video surveillance in slaughterhouses above a certain operating size will become compulsory.
And the stated goal is clear. The agriculture minister argues this could serve as a quality feature for the slaughterhouses, a sign of integrity, and aids significantly in uncovering violations of animal welfare regulations.
But the proposal is already facing immediate criticism.
From who?
Animal rights groups. They're unhappy that smaller operations are explicitly excluded from the mandatory requirement, calling the exclusion inconsistent.
If the goal is animal welfare, they argue, why should the size of the operation determine the ethical mandate?
That's the argument.
We also saw significant fiscal drama unfolding in France.
Yes, the French parliament failed to agree on a regular national budget for the coming year.
Which is a massive political and governance failure.
It is. It forced the government to pass an emergency law just to secure the state's financial capacity to act in January. Essentially, this stopgap measure allows the heavily indebted country to finance the state on a basic minimal level until a political compromise can be hammered out.
It's a clear signal of profound political gridlock impacting the core function of governance in a major European economy.
Absolutely.
And then there is a truly surprising international controversy involving free speech and digital safety.
This one caught my attention. The two managing directors of the German online initiative Hate AIDS, Annalena von Hodenberg and Josephine Ballon, were slapped with an entry ban by the U.S. State Department.
That's a significant charge.
Yeah.
It involves high-level diplomatic friction.
The U.S. State Department accuses them directly of engaging in internet censorship.
Which is a heavy allegation against an organization that insists it operates entirely under democratic and legal principles.
Unsurprisingly, the German Justice Minister reacted strongly, calling the U.S. action unacceptable and an infringement on civil society work.
And Hate AIDS insists vehemently that it does not suppress free expression.
Their mission, they clarify, is precisely the opposite. They provide crucial legal assistance to victims of online hate speech, helping individuals who are harassed or defamed to reclaim their safety and voice online through legal means.
The complexity is highlighted by the fact that von Hodenberg had just recently been awarded the Federal Cross of Merit in October by Germany.
A sign of high national recognition for their work.
And despite the aggressive U.S. action, the pair stated publicly they would not be intimidated and intend to continue their mission.
It's a perfect example of a deep contradiction, isn't it? Is an organization that legally challenges online harassment a champion of vulnerable voices, or is it a hidden mechanism of state-sponsored censorship?
The answer depends entirely on which side of the Atlantic you're on.
Exactly. And amidst these policy tensions and international conflicts, it's always important to remember the enduring cultural touchstones that bind communities together, offering moments of reflection, tribute, and continuity.
We must take a moment to pause and acknowledge the passing of the esteemed actor Uwe Kockisch at age 81.
A true legend. He was known to millions of viewers far beyond Germany for his defining role as Commissario Brunetti in the popular Donna Leon crime series.
The role he took on at almost 60 and played consistently until he was 75.
Kockisch had an extraordinary life trajectory that spanned Germany's defining post-war decades. He was born in Cottbus in 1944, so his early life was immediately impacted by the division of Germany.
And after the Berlin Wall was built in 1961, he attempted to flee East Germany.
An offense which resulted in 6 months of imprisonment. Despite that early adversity, he worked his way up from an extra to a respected actor at the Maxim Gorki Theater in Berlin for over 20 years.
And his career really reflected the complexities of that era. In the 90s, after unification, he successfully transitioned to film and television, taking on challenging roles like Kommissar Zeke or even playing a Stasi officer.
Roles that directly address the divided history of the country. He was recognized with a prestigious Grimm Prize for his work.
He was one of the few actors who successfully made that leap from being a prominent East German or DDR actor to a recognizable and successful figure in unified German television. He created a true, undeniable legacy that bridged two very different cultural eras.
And shifting from a personal legacy to an enduring tradition, the Grusen Board program.
Greetings aboard.
It offers a truly profound cultural touchstone that connects families separated by vast oceans. For over 70 years, this NDR radio campaign sends Christmas greetings via shortwave radio to sailors working far out at sea.
This is a beautiful example of the enduring power of simple media, isn't it?
It really is. Even in the age of fast internet and instant smartphone communication, these shortwave radio greetings, broadcast every Christmas Eve since 1953, remain incredibly special for many seafarers worldwide.
Why do you think that is?
Because the message is truly personalized. And the act of someone listening in the middle of the Atlantic to a fuzzy broadcast from home, it makes the connection deeply personal and irreplaceable.
The program captured a particularly emotional moment during his latest broadcast that demonstrates this power.
The parents of Captain Axel Roderman were participating.
And Captain Roderman was on his first voyage as captain after 20 years of dedication.
A pinnacle achievement in his career, his parents sent him this heartfelt greeting from the Seamen's Mission in Hamburg, reflecting on his long journey, and they had absolutely no idea he was listening.
The surprise was perfect and deeply moving.
It was. Captain Rodermund, hearing his parents' message of pride and love, called in live right there from his ship somewhere in the middle of the Atlantic to greet them back.
The program called it a campfire moment.
Bridging vast distances over the ocean and years of effort, culminating in the fulfillment of a lifelong dream right at Christmas. It's a powerful reminder that connection transcends technology and distance.
And finally, we turn to a localized, yet massively popular tradition. The Torfrock Bagaluten Weihnacht concerts.
Torfrock, yes. The rock band has established a 34-year-old Christmas tradition, touring northern Germany with their unique blend of hard rock and festive North German humor.
These concerts have achieved genuine cult status.
They're always completely sold out.
And they appeal across generations, celebrated by fans as a key family event and a crucial piece of regional identity, a piece of home.
Their music style is unmistakable, known for their hard-rocking sound, like the popular song Beinhardt, and their strong reliance on the North German dialect, Platt German. Some songs are sung entirely in that dialect.
And for listeners unfamiliar, Platt German isn't just an accent, it's a distinct language.
It is. And the fact that they perform in it links them profoundly to their regional roots. The band is described as an unrivaled product that brings a beautiful pinch of anarchy to the season.
The humor, the great melodies, the strong connection to that Northern German identity. It ensures that, even though they are fundamentally a rock band, their Christmas tour is an essential, enduring tradition for thousands of people seeking a non-traditional way to celebrate. Before we wrap up this complex deep dive, let's quickly look at one fascinating natural phenomenon, auroras, or northern lights, and how easily we can misread natural or technological signals in a world saturated with information.
Right, so auroras are caused by small, charged particles that are ejected from the sun during solar eruptions,
And these particles interact with the Earth's magnetic field.
causing the upper atmosphere to glow with these fantastic colors. While they're usually named for the poles, they have occasionally been observed much further south when solar activity is intensely high, even in Germany.
And this brings us to a slightly humorous but revealing example of misperception.
In Stuttgart.
Yes. Recently, there was great excitement and social media frenzy about supposed purple northern lights visible over the city of Stuttgart. People were genuinely thrilled, believing they were witnessing a rare celestial spectacle that far south.
The reality, however, was far more mundane, though equally visually striking, and entirely technological.
The phenomenon turned out not to be a celestial event at all.
No, it was these specialized floodlights used by the VfB Stuttgart football stadium.
I love this.
These lights are used to help the turf grow better during the cold winter months, bathing the stadium in this bizarrely beautiful, though entirely non-natural purple glow that reflected off the low cloud cover.
And the science confirms this misidentification.
Yeah, for those unfamiliar with the measurement, the intensity of solar storms is measured by the CAPE index.
And to see the northern lights that far south, the KP index needs to be consistently greater than 6 or 7.
And on the evening of the supposed sighting in Stuttgart, the KP index was far too low to produce that effect.
So the glow was definitely high-tech turf light. not a celestial phenomenon.
This anecdote serves as a nice closing thought, I think. How easily we can mistake a technological signal for a natural one.
Or, stretching the metaphor, how easily we can mistake geopolitical performance like invoking a 200-year-old doctrine to seize Greenland for a genuine immediate threat.
Exactly. Accurate information and critical analysis are essential to discern what we are truly seeing.
So we've covered everything from peace diplomacy that ironically resembles a military defense clause,
To the unbearable physical and economic stress of parcel delivery logistics.
and a simple shortwave radio greeting helping a captain fulfill a life's dream in the middle of the Atlantic.
This deep dive, moving across these vast contradictory landscapes, shows that even during a time often dedicated to reflection and tradition, the world accelerates.
Demanding our attention and critical insight into these simultaneous, contrasting realities. So what does this all mean for you? The contrast is stark and enduring. While geopolitical conflicts rely on aggressive, old doctrines and calculated economic pressure,
People across the globe, whether striving for peace in a brightly lit church in Bethlehem, navigating darkness in Kiev, or struggling to maintain their small business in a cramped parcel shop in Berlin, are actively striving for stability, resilience, and a moment of genuine human connection.
it's true.
This raises an important question for you to consider as you process this information. In a world where even the blueprint for sustainable peace proposals must be designed to resemble a military defense treaty,
Right.
how does true lasting peace successfully shift from being purely a diplomatic negotiation rooted in security mechanisms to becoming a fundamental cultural reality shared across deeply divided communities?
That's a profound thought worth mulling over.
Yep.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
Until next time.
Keep learning.